afternoon, everybody.
At this time, we're joined by Sporting Kansas City's President of Soccer Operations and General Manager, David Lee. Our first question will go to Daniel Sperry with the Kansas City Star.
You guys have been a little busy lately. Just you could kind of walk us through the moves the last 48 hours or so, acquiring Owen and also departing with Dayon via trade. For Dayon, just why ultimately did the club feel that was the right move? And I guess we'll go after that.
Yeah, so I think first I want to say, Dayon's a class act. He's been a fantastic servant to Sporting Kansas City since he's been here, and that wasn't an easy decision at all. I think as we looked at the roster and the improvements we want to make, fundamentally the decision came down to how are we going to improve in the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. And so the deal, frankly, has the potential to be transformational in the assets that we gain. And I realize that, moving on current players for future assets is never particularly popular. But by moving him inside the league, we open up, we have the capacity to take maximum amount of GAM, which is $3 million. That is 20-25% of the overall budget for next year in your general salary cap, TAM and GAM. And so that is so much available money that we can now deploy across the entire roster, as well as opening a DP slot. And so it's really the sort of dual-pronged benefit that we got. We weren't looking to move Dayon. We didn't try and move him abroad. We didn't look to move him elsewhere. And I think credit to our ownership. If we moved him abroad, we don't get any. If you transfer a designated player outside of the league, you get $0 in GAM. So maybe, I don't know because we didn't try, but maybe it might be possible to have achieved a higher transfer fee, but that doesn't affect our ability to actually compete because we don't get the GAM from that. And it really is the critical part of the transaction. If it came down to a simple move a DP out to sign a new DP, that wouldn't have even been a consideration for us, which is what would have happened if we thought about moving him abroad. And so ultimately it was the assets and the collection of assets that we're going to get that is going to allow us to build and maintain a competitive roster moving forward. And given the market that we're in terms of current window, future windows, having open DP slots is the most valuable roster slots I have available to utilize. And we now have 2 of those, and we entered the window with the ability to add 1, which obviously we have with André Luiz. We were in the 2 DP model to begin with. We still are right now, but we now have 2 open DP slots. And that is a really strong position for us to be in moving forward, as well as the GAM that can impact the entire rest of the roster. And we really believe, ultimately, we would have preferred probably to be a little further on a replacement, and ultimately probably the timing isn't ideal for us, but we knew the deal wasn't going to be there if we waited, and so we had to isolate all of the factors around the decision and just try to decide what is best for Sporting Kansas City moving forward, and we decided this was going to position us for the most success moving forward.
You talked about the idea of having the 2 DP slots open, but you guys are still in that 2 and 4 model. Has that been a conversation even between you and Peter Maluk about making this team into that 3 and 3 model? And what I guess, is there a difference in, maybe not ambition, but is there a difference in like the way you're seeing this roster build now as opposed to when you did in January, when you guys felt the 2 and 4 model, and you had said a couple of times too that you felt that was the best model in the moment for you guys?
Yeah, good question. So I certainly think, I want to be really clear, from the day I arrived to today, the destination and where we're going has not changed 1 drop. We want this team, and we need this team to be as competitive as we can, compete for trophies, and deliver a product on the pitch that our fans can be proud of. That destination, I said it when I first came, that's the reason why I came, is because I want to be part of turning Sporting Kansas City back into the winning organization that it had been for so long. So destination is not one drop different. I do think that the strategy and the approach might be slightly different now. Certainly, even if you told me in April or May that we would be in the market for 3 designated players in the summer window, I would have told you you're crazy. And that's the situation we find ourselves in because we've obviously made a decision with Manu. The transfer, the trade for Decky wasn't planned, but now we have to react to it. So I think think the speed in which we want to improve the team and the financial resources that certainly Peter has opened up, particularly with those discretionary slots, is slightly different than what we were probably anticipating, certainly in October, and then probably April, May, even going into the window opening. But like I say, the destination hasn't changed at all. It is we do want to move the team into a 3DP model, whether that happens this window, the next, or ahead of the 27-28. I'm not going to commit to, but we ultimately believe that probably that will give us the overall capacity to compete right at the top end of the league. I still feel like it was the right decision in the moment to be in a 2DP model. I also think in January, February, when we first spoke, the Daniel deal wasn't on the cards at that point, and that was a almost $2 million swing in our salary cap that we weren't expecting. And so that has also given us just more resources to put throughout the team. So there's been a lot of factors that have changed, but ultimately where we're going and all the decisions that we're taking are, while they can be a little bit painful in the short term, it's how do we position the team for as much success as we can moving forward.
Can you talk us through kind of how y'all ID'd Owen and how that process went into acquiring him?
Yeah, I'm really excited that Owen's part of the club. To be very honest, he was one of the first names on our wish list when I joined last year. We would have liked to try and sign him in January. We did try, but unfortunately wasn't possible to get him. I think he had an outstanding 2025 season. He was certainly one of the best young players in the league, and in my opinion, one of the top young domestic talents. Obviously has had some injuries and sort of disrupted 2026 so far. But when the opportunity arose and Austin decided that they might be open to a conversation, we pursued that really, really heavily because we felt like he was going to be a key target for us and a key piece for us moving forward. To be able to acquire a player like that with, I think he's over 7,000 minutes already in MLS at a very young age, as a U22 player is a unique opportunity, and we wanted to make sure we pounced on that. And so I'm really delighted he's here. We are still working through, he's still got an ankle injury that we're working through. So we've got him in the building. We can make sure his return to play is handled correctly because we've got to make sure he's back healthy, because I think healthy Owen Wolff has the potential to be one of the top players in MLS, and he'll make a big difference for us and play a bunch of positions, goal dangerous, his technical quality. I think he's proven to be a really impactful player already, and I can't wait to see what he'll do for Sporting Kansas City.
In terms of Manu's, the mutual departing there, a lot of fans were kind of bothered by the fact that, it was mutual termination instead of a transfer. I think with Decky's transfer, it kind of makes sense that you talk about, if they're transferred outside the league, that you don't get money back. Just was that part of the conversation when y'all decided to mutually terminate with him instead of trying to transfer him out?
Yeah, so I think in that situation, it's maybe slightly different for Dejan, right? So Manu had a contract for another 18 months. As we worked through that process with him and his agents, it was trying to find the right situation for him. And a mutual separation essentially meant that we were terminating and paying some of his salary, and that's why we've designated him as an off-season, as an in-season buyout, so that we can free up the DP slot. If you don't use the buyout, then he will continue to retain a DP slot. So, it would have been wonderful for us if it were possible to do a transfer, but it simply wasn't possible given what his new club were willing to pay for his salary, and therefore we had to try and make that work for all parties. And given what Manu has done for us and how he was both as a person and as a player, we wanted to find a situation that worked for everybody, that got him to the club and the place he wanted to go, and this was the best resolution for that.
David, I'm sure when you do lose a player like Dejan, it allows you to envision maybe what you see for the future in that position. You've obviously had a certain type of player to evaluate and how that's worked here. What is your vision for maybe what you would seek in that position?
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of conversations throughout the whole year about the number 9 position, but obviously once the Dejan deal started to become something that could happen, I think what it allows us to do, I think Dejan is an elite striker in MLS and has proven to be an elite goal scorer. I think our team, as we move to evolve the team into the next iteration, I think we will look for a slightly different profile of player. We may not find someone that is as elite inside the box as Dejan is, because there's frankly not many of those. But there is a huge amount of players that maybe have a little bit of a different style, might be slightly better in the press, or do things, be able to hold the ball up a little bit differently than Dejan did. So I think that can give us a platform to play slightly differently. So we're looking at those profiles now, but we're certainly not looking to it's going to be very difficult to replace Dejan like for like, so I don't think that's something that we're looking for. But we're looking to try and make sure we just get the right profile in of striker.
And then when you talk about the way these assets set you up for the future, I'm sure you consider both the short and long-term future, but like what's sort of the forefront of your mind for where you can see how quickly this team can get better?
Yeah, so look, every decision is taken with a short and medium and long-term focus, and there are 6 days left in the window, and our job and what we are absolutely focused on for these next 6 days is, can we find a way that improves the team right now? So can we bring players in that can help the group? We know, and I said last time I spoke, no one's happy with where we are in the league. No one's happy with the results that we've had, and that remains the same. And so we've got to try and find ways to improve the team as quickly as we can. And while the window's open, that will be the focus. What I am really clear on, though, is we are not trying to make marginal improvements here. We are trying to take a team and make quantum leaps in our competitive level to get us back to the top of the table. That is what we are going for. And so if that means, in my position, some short-term sacrifices to make sure that the medium and long-term we can be a sustainably successful team, then that is what we will do. But I'm hoping that we will be able to add some players before the window closes. I don't know if we will, but I hope we will, that can really take us forward. But it will not be at the compromise of the flexibility that we've now created with the decisions that we made. We worked really hard to create so much flexibility and optionality in how we build our roster, how we improve. The last thing we should do in the moment we're at now is make a decision that might impact us from really taking one of those really big steps in a future transfer window. So it's not to say we won't, but that is going to be the focus, to make sure that any decisions we take fit into the medium-term plan as well, and we don't get caught in trying to make a short-term move that probably will make people feel a bit better immediately and probably make Rafa a bit happier right now. But the reality is, we know where we are going, and that is so clear to all of us here, and we've got to make sure that the moves we make have that in mind. And the Dejan wasn't something we were expecting, and if we evaluated that at a different point, maybe the decision would be different. But it simply was about the assets that we're going to acquire here are going to position us with so much flexibility to continue to improve on the roster that I think we've made significant steps in already in improving the depth and quality of the roster, and this will allow us to continue that right now.
Then lastly for me, but I wonder if you could backtrack to maybe when you first were in this job, or even maybe when you're thinking about taking this job. And I know that having run a club before, it's not completely foreign to you, but this club is, right, and this city is, and just how maybe it's differed so far compared to what you expected, and maybe the difficulty of maybe flipping that switch.
Yeah, I mean, overall I would say there's certainly been challenges that maybe I hadn't planned on or expected, and things that ultimately you learn every single day while you're here, and things that you might want to improve, and you don't know all of those things until you actually start working. And so I think what I'm really proud and pleased about is that the opportunity that I saw in October last year when I joined, I see that opportunity and more existing today. And because I've now spent 8, 9, 10 months in this city, in this community, with our fans, even with the results that we've seen, I know where this team can be. We have everything that we need in order to take this team to the level that we want it to achieve. And so, nothing has changed on that side. It has been challenging. I think both transfer windows have brought up some challenges that maybe we weren't expecting. And I tell the staff regularly, we have a plan. A plan is a plan, and we got to adjust. And trading Dejan was not in the plan. That was not in the plan that we set out in January and February. The situation came, and we have to now adjust. And like I say, as that came through, it was about isolating as many of the contextual factors as we could to get to a point of what we think is the right decision for us moving forward. But it's been a fantastic first 10 months, despite the pain on the results side. That is extremely difficult, and probably I don't think I've lost this many games in my career, and so it's extremely painful to go through that. But I see where this team can and will be, and that is what drives me every single day, when I can take a little bit of the Saturdays and Sundays are pretty painful when you don't get the results that you want, but through the week, I'm able to take a little bit of a medium-term view and see how we're building the staff, we're changing the environment, the players that we're looking at. We're in a market where we are paying transfer fees that certainly I wasn't anticipating when I came in October, November. That was not part of the conversation, that we might end up spending the transfer fees that we have on André Luiz, or the types of transfer fees that and the players that we are talking to now. But that's all really exciting stuff and something that I'm really looking forward to continue to do through the remainder of this window and all of the windows to come, because everybody is aligned on making sure this team is as competitive as we can possibly make it.
So David, you talked about, a busy next 6 days potentially for you. I imagine you have a lot of offers and feelers out there. Can you give us an idea of how many conversations are you having? We hear rumors of, Swedish strikers and Nico Fernandez-Mercado, who you're very familiar with. Can you kind of tell us about those things? I know that there's some limitations on what you can talk about.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to talk about individual players as you might expect, but there's an awful lot of conversations, and frankly, those conversations are changing daily right now. It's one of the, essentially a large part of my job is to be talking to people and being in the transfer market on a daily basis. And if you speak to people in Europe, it is one of the strangest markets that I think most people have experienced, because it is so late, I think partly because of the World Cup and partly because the big teams that drive the market are still doing business. So your Manchester Cities, Liverpools of the world, they're all still doing business in the last 6 days. And so there's an awful lot of players that are waiting for their futures to be decided. So, players are coming onto the list, and then you wake up and suddenly they're not on the list anymore. So we're trying to remain as flexible as we can with all of our options. We've done a huge amount of work across, I would say our focus is on attacking positions. I think that is fair to say, between 10s, 9s, wingers, to try and look at how we enhance our attacking group, and that is our focus for the remaining 6 days. There may be opportunities that come in other positions that we're not expecting, and we want to be nimble enough to take those if they are part of the long term. But yeah, there's a huge amount of conversations going on, and we're going to try and look to get those across the line if we can. I think I said in one of my press conferences before, we were looking at 2 to 3, 2 to 4 players, something like that. I still think that's roughly the range that we would like to do. Whether that's possible, probably Owen is one of those. So maybe it's 1 to 3 now. But again, they've got to be the right players. The one thing I really have to avoid in the moment we are, I think the least successful MLS teams are the ones that panic, the ones that make maybe rush decisions that they haven't done the due diligence on a player, and then you are, particularly with your DPs or higher value players, that then you're stuck on those contracts and they're not the right fit for the long term, and that's what we have to make sure we avoid.
And then you mentioned Owen Wolff. Obviously, this is a much bigger fee than maybe you talked about at the beginning of the season that you're anticipating spending on those U22 initiative spots. Is that where you think you'll be looking to spend in that ballpark again in the future as you look to fill that 1 or 2 spots that are remaining there?
Yeah, I think we've never given ourselves a budget. Obviously, it's slightly different from the transfer fee that we paid for Diego, who came in earlier this year. We've not been told or given a specific price range. What we've been told is we want to make the team better, and we want to use the discretionary slots that we have available. And certainly when Peter came on board ahead of this transfer window, we had 2 DPs and 1 U22, so we had 3 discretionary slots open. We now have 2 DPs and we still have 1 U22 slot open. So how can we use those discretionary resources as effectively as we can to improve our team? And like I say, I think it's amazing to be in a position where we can go and have conversations with some of the best young talent in this league, and try and see if we can go and be a destination that they want to come to, and have the resources available from ownership to be able to go and have those conversations. But as I mentioned, Owen was a target back in October, November, and December, and so just couldn't get it done then. But delighted that it's happened now.
And then kind of a longer term one, last one from me. The front office, you talked about it last time. It's growing. Obviously, you guys will make those announcements when you can, but how do you think future transfer windows will look different when you have your own in-house analytics staff and your own data versus having to, buy that from other sources?
Yeah, so look, I think any time that we can add and build out our infrastructure, I think what it gives you is it gives you more time, because you're better planned, you're further ahead. Right now, there's a relatively small group of people working exceptionally hard, and I do want to give them a huge amount of credit, because it's not been an easy 8 months on the player recruitment side, just what we came into and the amount of players that we needed, and I'm really proud of the work that they have done in order to get us into the position we are. We know there's a huge amount of work. I think we were probably all looking forward to this window closing and being able to take a little bit of a breath. Probably not going to happen now, because probably we're still going to have a lot to do in January. But there's a lot of people. There's a group of people working really hard. I think when we build out an analytics team, when we build out a full scouting team, we're going to have so much more insight information, and when you add people into the department, the quality and the number of those conversations that happen and the people who have contacts that can help you get information that you need is going to take us to a different level. And I really believe that is, I think I've said before, but we have been in quite a trying to make sure we fix as many short-term issues as we can from January to now. And we are still in that mode to make sure we can improve the team as much as we can while the window is open. I get really excited when I think about the medium-term solutions and hiring people that are going to lead departments for us, and what they're going to be able to do with the resources that we have, and how that's going to impact. And so I'm really excited to get to that point, and I don't think we're that far off now where probably we were in January, and we've made a lot of progress on that, which is really exciting.
I was going to ask, externally, the expectation is that roster rules are going to be changing in Major League Soccer and coming transfer windows. How much? I know some of those, I'm sure you probably hear discussions about what might be being discussed behind the scenes about how those rules might change, especially under a new commissioner. How much do you factor that into decisions you make now? And has that informed any decisions you've made at all in this window, kind of anticipating some of those changes down the line?
Yeah, so likewise, we are expecting changes. The challenge is, I don't think any MLS teams know when they might happen, right? We are not that far away from CBA, and so that will be a conversation between MLSPA and MLS. And so you are always in this moment at the end of end of every CBA that I've been part of, where you're not quite sure what the world is going to look like post CBA. We are then obviously in a slightly more complicated situation where calendar is changing. We know there is desire to update, amend our rule structure. It is not having an impact right now because simply otherwise you'd be in decision fatigue. You simply wouldn't make one. You simply would not make a decision because you can't. It's impossible to know what rules might exist. So I think we have to make the decisions within the current rule structure that we know will be in place next year for certain. And then when the new rules get announced, then we have to try and pivot. But I would say I don't think there is currently, at least that I'm aware of, and there might be conversations that I'm certainly not aware of at MLS level. I don't think there's going to be suddenly huge, dramatic, sweeping changes that means that players that we sign now, you would look at and say, oh, I wouldn't have signed that player. I think it's more about the values and roster designations that they might occupy that might change. But ultimately, we're looking at the decisions that we need to take now in the rule structure that we have.
In terms of the number 9, you talk about the profile, and Rafa can maneuver the lineup however he sees fit. But I think Cal Hero is the only 9 on the roster right now. Just obviously wanting to get that number 1, number 9, for lack of a better term. But what is there a cap you want to put in there? Like having at least 3 strikers at that spot or anything like that?
No, I think in general, in a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 build of a roster, I think you'd like to have 2 strikers. I think 3 is always ideal, but just given 20 senior roster slots, you normally don't use 3 of those on a striker if you're only playing with 1. So we'd like to get to 2. I do want to take a second to give Taylor a huge amount of credit. Taylor, I think, has been outstanding, and we missed him when he was injured coming out of the World Cup break. I think he performed at a really, really high level going into the World Cup break, and I think him and Dayan showed a really, really good partnership, and was, in my opinion, part of that 3 really, really good performances. I think he played fantastically against St. Louis and was part of a really strong overall performance from us that we deserve to win that game. So I think Taylor's done really, really well, and I'm excited to see him continue to get opportunities because he's shown everywhere, every level he's played at. He was in New York with our next pro team, and he went to USL. He's shown an ability to adapt, and yes, as you go up the levels, it does get slightly harder, but I think Taylor's been outstanding, and I'm looking forward to seeing him get more opportunities. But ultimately, yes, we'd like to make sure and see if we can add a player before they close this window that can help and just make sure that we're not light in that position.
And then you talked about how Owen Wolff, this pursuit's been going on for quite a while. What is it that you saw in him? And it seems like he can play a lot of different positions. Is there a specific position that you think is maybe his best fit, or is it the diversity of his abilities that maybe makes him even a better asset?
Yeah, I think versatility for a young player is really, really helpful. I think we see Owen can play as an 8, he can play as a 10, he can play probably on the left coming inside as a winger. I think they're the positions that we have seen him play, and play, I think, all 3 of those at a really high level. I think probably sees himself centrally mostly, but I think for us he'll be able to do, you know, he gives us, if we are going to play him as a winger, he's a very different type of winger than we have right now, and that was also part of the attraction for us in that, you know, we have Capita, we have Calvin, you know, if he was going to play off the left, for example, and be able to come inside and play in those pockets, I think that can help us. I think what stands out first is his technical quality is of a really, really high level. He's able to receive the ball in tight areas. He's very, very calm under pressure. He can dribble and progress the ball up the field. And then he's dangerous in front of goal. Like, he's got assists and goals. He arrives really late in the box and has a really good finish. And so for us, I think all of those attributes are things that we see that will add a huge amount of quality to our overall roster and our team. And the fact that he can play a bunch of positions and play them all really, really well, I think is helpful for us.
David, thank you very much for the time today.
Thanks, everybody.
We will be joined next by Sporting Kansas City head coach Raphaël Wicky.
See you next week for the next player announcement. Just a joke. Did it take too much time?
No.
We're now joined by Sporting Kansas City head coach Raphaël Wicky. Our first question will go to Daniel Sperry with the Kansas City Star.
Wanted to ask about André Luiz. You guys have had him in now for a couple of days. I'm sure you watched plenty of film on him before he arrived, but what has stuck out to you now when you have him here in person?
Yeah, he trained yesterday with the team the first time, almost full training, not 100% full. He looked good. He looked like he likes to play football and hasn't played football with the team for a few weeks. So he enjoyed the training with the team. He looked good, scored some goals. You can see his ability in 1v1 situations. We already saw that yesterday. Now it's just a question of giving him time, of getting match fit for more than 30 minutes, because like I mentioned, he hasn't played a lot or not trained a lot in the last 3-4 weeks. But very excited to have him here. Very excited player.
Do you think he'll be potentially available for a debut this weekend?
If tomorrow the training goes well, if he felt well tomorrow and the training goes well, I'm planning on having him with the team, yes.
And then just as you guys have had a lot of movement in and out, what's it been like managing the team kind of through those moments, especially losing 2 players like Manu and Dejan who were within that leadership room for you two at the beginning of the year as captains? What's it been like trying to deal with that? And also maybe who do you see kind of stepping in as those leaders in the squad at the moment?
Look, this is not the first time this season, right? It started obviously with preseason. It started then in March. We had 2-3 guys with Capita, with Diego, with Lasse, all in different moments arriving. So we had to integrate those players already. And then it continued in the summer where between Emir, Or, and Moises, they all also came in different moments. So it's not the first time that as a staff and as a coach I have to, I can integrate new exciting players to the team. So it's basically something which goes on through the year. Every move out and in of a team changes dynamics in a team, changes roles and responsibilities in the team. That is just normal. So that's something we have to deal with. We have to communicate with the players what the roles are, what the responsibilities are, and we have to try to integrate the new players as fast as possible. The one thing I always tell the players is integration is not a one-way street, right? You have to give something, you receive something. And the players, if the players come here and give something and open themselves up and are open to talk and to get to know the teammates, they will receive something back as well. And I think we have done pretty well with that. And this is a really good group to come in because they're really good guys. So it's easy to integrate. Now in terms of football, and look, I'm in this game since a long time, and I understand everyone who wants these new players to come in, and you put the bottle on here, and now it has to work. That's not how it works. They're human beings. They're not robots, right? Very excited to have these players. And we integrate them, but we have to give them time. We have to give these players time to integrate, especially the guys who come from a different continent, different country, different language. They leave their life one day and take an airplane and go somewhere new. So now give them time, and at the same time, and that's my job, we have expectations, right? And I'm excited to have them here, and they integrate well, but we have to give them time as well a little bit to integrate and to get to know the names of their teammates, the way we want to play. There's a lot of things, right? But then on the other side, you're a footballer, you're on the field, and you just want to play, and they will do good.
I wanted to ask, didn't see Jake or Zoe out there in training today. If you could just give a little injury update on those two. And I know Orr and Owen have kind of been in the mix as injured players recently as well.
Yeah, before I go to Jake and Zoe, obviously very excited as well to have Owen Wolff here with us. First day today. Very excited young player who we believe strongly in him and has a lot of potential as well. And we believe that he will do very well for our club in the future. But he hasn't trained today, and we have to now see. I have to go and speak to the medical and see how he is tomorrow and how far he is, because he has been a little bit injured from I think from a Leagues Cup game. So we'll have to more updates after in the afternoon about that. Jake Davis will be out for a little bit. He hurt his knee in Atlanta. So he most likely will not be available for this weekend. How long, I cannot tell you. And Zoe got a knock in Atlanta. We will really have to reassess tomorrow if he is available for this game or not.
You talk about guys getting acclimated from different cultures and everything. Just I know for a first-year head coach in any sport is usually about building your own culture in the building. Just how has that been going with so many changes in the building, trying to instill your culture and what you want to establish here?
Well, it's not my culture, right? We build a culture together. It's a culture of on the field, off the field, what values do we have? And I think it's important just to talk to the players, to the new guys, hey, this is how we want to communicate with each other on a daily basis. This is how we want to work and live together as a team, as a staff. That's communication. And then there is obviously the game model. How do we want to play? That's obviously then also meetings with the player individually, with me or with my assistant coaches on, hey, this is our expectation in your position. This is how we want. And this is what we want from you in that position. And on the other side, also talking to the player and understand, hey, what is I have seen film. I know you as a player, but what do you need from your teammate in certain moments? That's obviously communication with the players, meetings with the players, and then it's training. It's training on the pitch. I can give you an example. I spoke to André Luiz today on the field. Obviously speaking a little bit about positioning, higher up the field. Where do he wants the ball? What is important for him from his fullback? The relation between fullback and him is going to be important. So those things then grow every day on the trainings pitch.
Rafa, I'm curious about Andre specifically, because Owen, I'm sure it's a little easier for him to get acclimated as he played in this league. But Andre, when you're talking about a player who doesn't speak the same language as a lot of guys, but there are a couple on this team that speak Portuguese with him, how important is it to have a couple guys that he can quickly communicate with and relate to, I guess?
I mean, in his case, his English is actually quite okay. I think he probably learned that in Greece a little bit, I would assume. So his English is actually okay. I can speak with him in English, so can the teammates. Then there is quite a few guys who now speak Portuguese or Spanish as well. So I think that's an easy fix. Or he can talk to his teammates and to his staff. So that's fine. It's more about giving them time and training with his teammates, modern movements, coordinated movements. If he's wide, where is his fullback? Where is the number 10 or the number 9? What relation does he want? It's all of that. But again, that we will train with him. We will train with these players, and we will try to coordinate and to give them coordinated movements on the field.
Coach, Owen Wolff, he has some positional diversity in his game. Lee talked about how he can be a kind of different profile if you play him out wide left, and he has all these other abilities to play in the middle of the field as well. What do you kind of see that you can get from him, and then how do you think that changes maybe not your overall philosophy, but like maybe game-to-game tactics?
I think Owen is a great addition to this team. Right now, I feel like we have a lot of very vertical, fast-paced wingers with Calvin Harris, with Steven Afrifra, with Capita, with André Luiz. They're all very, very good players, very vertical, 1v1, go into the space, and I believe that Owen will bring a different addition. Owen is a player who can play as an 11 coming inside into the pocket, but he can play as an 8 or a 10. He's very comfortable in the pocket in between the lines, and I think that is a good addition to have in our team. And that will be, when Owen plays, will be the expectation of him, that he finds these pockets in between the lines where he can link up with the wingers, with the number 9, with the other midfielders, and then create chances or go into the box. That will be. I'm not going to ask Owen to go all the time into 1v1s out wide, like I would ask Capita or Calvin Harris or the other wingers. So I think he adds something really valuable for our team.
Profe, buenas tardes para Telemundo. Le gustaría compartir para la audiencia en español el por qué traer un jugador de Grecia y uno muy joven.
Bueno, lo traemos porque creemos en él, creemos que es un jugador muy, muy bueno, que puede ayudarnos en cada nivel. Es un jugador muy, muy interesante en la fase ofensiva, que tiene velocidad, que tiene 1 contra 1, que va en espacio, que tiene una pierna zurda muy, muy buena para terminar acciones, y por eso lo traemos acá y somos muy, muy exitosos de tenerlo.
Muchas gracias, profe.
Any additional questions for Rafa? Rafa, thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
We will be joined next by Sporting Kansas City midfielder Owen Wolff.
It's like 2-minute delay. No, oh, you're not gonna. Okay, I was about to say. Just say he reached for that block also.
Dude, made for the moment.
Made for the moment. Main character energy. That's me.
Someone said, Chad keeps saying wolf.
Oh, I'm glad that they got to see him
Who's
be
reading
like.
the comments?
I don't know what they're. Oh, are they referring to
At this time, we're joined by Sporting Kansas City's newest addition, midfielder Owen Wolff. Our first question will go to Daniel Sperry with the Kansas City Star.
Congrats and welcome to Kansas City.
Thank you.
For you, why ultimately, what was your part in the process to come here? And what did you think about the project that Sporting has underway?
Yeah, I am super excited to be a part of the project, and I think they're building something really, really good here, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I think coming here and that being part of the reason that I wanted to leave and come to Kansas City. So.
How much have you talked to your dad about it, and what's that like, kind of following in his footsteps in the kind of the same way getting traded here?
Yeah, no, I talked to him a little bit about it. We lived here a while ago, from 2008 to 2011, and I remember a lot about the Wizards when we were all here together, and but yeah, a lot of good memories here, and I think him and my mom and the rest of my family is really excited for me to get started here.
Is that going to be kind of weird walking out into the stadium? And I'm sure you've already been out there too, but see your name already up there.
Yeah, I actually came here when they put his name up, so it was something that I'll be able to look at all the time when I'm out there.
You spent some time, I know, in the Sporting Academy growing up. I guess what kind of things do you remember from that, and now being back here in Kansas City playing soccer here?
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago, but I remember more just being with my dad and the players, locker room. Coming out to trainings when they allowed the families to come out and stuff like that. But yeah, this is kind of where I grew up and started my little soccer career. And I'm excited to be back and can't wait to get going again.
What kind of stories maybe stick out to you that your dad has told you about the fans in Kansas City, the culture of soccer here in Kansas City? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I think the culture here is big. You saw that during the World Cup, and yeah, he did good enough to be a part of the Legends Wall in the stadium. So I think he talked very highly of the club and what it was, and he's won championships here, and I think that's something that I hope to follow and do as well.
Does it feel any more meaningful, the fact that his name's up on the wall, he's loved by the fans here and that kind of thing, with you now playing here, than any other club in Major League Soccer?
Yeah, I think it means a little more to me that he's up there. I think it also helps me in my career also to progress, and yeah, I think it's another thing that I can help carry the name and do everything I can to help the club win.
I'm going to comically throw some water on the fire here. Just outside of this club, do many people ask you about your dad? Like, is there like a Wolff kind of legacy around that you just kind of always hear about?
Yeah, I think my dad was around the MLS a lot, and he played for a while. I think whenever I get approached, there's always a question about him and stuff like that. And he was good, and I'm here to build my career and do what I do, and continue to progress as much as possible.
Are you one of the children that's like kind of just ready to shake that all the family stuff off?
Not necessarily. I like having it around. It's good for me to talk about it and know that where I get my soccer acumen from, and to continue to grow that.
What are some of the things that obviously you hope to win here and you hope to do your best, but just how do you see yourself improving this team, especially seeing them from a different squad? Just how do you see yourself coming into the sign-up?
Yeah, I think I'm a very competitive person, and ultimately the only goal for me is to win games, win championships, win trophies. So that's what I'm here to do.
Well, how much you've mentioned being excited multiple times. How much of that is just seeing what you envision that this team's ambition is for the future?
Yeah, I talked with David Lee, and the ambition for the club and going forward is they want to build something really, really important, something that's really successful. And I think being a part of that is what I look forward to a lot as well.
A quick one here. I'm just curious about, you spent a little bit of time in Kansas City, but outside of the soccer and all of that, what do you remember about Kansas City, or are you excited to have back now?
Yeah, I think it's hard to remember what I was doing at 5, 6 years old. But talking to my family about it, they said it's changed a lot. So I'm excited to see what that looks like and, be around in the city and find new places to eat, shop, stuff like that. So.
You've been at Austin for most of your professional career, made your pro debut there. I'm curious, what are you looking for in the next chapter? Is it in for your own career, and also maybe like where do you want to go in the long term, in 5-6 years from now?
Yeah, I think, I'm here now and I want to do everything I can to win games, win championships, win trophies, like I said. And I think if I can do my job here as best as I can, to keep doing what I do, and I don't know, we'll see what happens down the road.
Is there an area as a player that you wanted to maybe, it was put out there by Austin too, that you kind of had been looking for a move away from there since December? What did you find in Sporting that you were searching for? Is it opportunity? Is it a different environment? What is it?
Yeah, I think the ambition of what David Lee has told me definitely influenced the move here. And also, I spent a lot of time there, and something new and something I look forward to is to come here and do what I can.
Not to keep bringing up your dad, but he played for the national team. You've played for the youth national team. What are your goals around being included in the senior team?
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of the goals of mine. I did okay last year. I was hoping I could get a chance with them at the end of last year, and that didn't happen, but that doesn't change my mindset and what I want to do to get to that position, because I do want to be a part of the U.S. men's national team, and I'm going to do everything I can here to make that happen.
And then there's a lot of talk about your kind of diversity as a player in terms of where you can play. What do you see as like your best skill set in terms of where you'd like to be on the pitch?
Yeah, I think being in the midfield and in a little more advanced role where I'm helping score and assist goals, I think is where I flourish the most. And you saw that at the end of last year. I kind of did a lot better at the end of last year than I did at the beginning, but that just had to come with being comfortable in that position. And yeah, I think being in and around the goal is definitely where I do the best.
And then it's a record-breaking cash transfer to bring you over here as a U22 player. Does that put any extra pressure on you when you come to town?
I think it will definitely add a little more pressure, but I think pressure will help me perform as well. It's not something that I'll shy away from, and it's something that I'm actually going to embrace. And yeah, I'm just going to keep playing the way I play and doing the things that I do.
I know also the interim coach in Austin was Coach Arnaud, who also has his name in the stadium. Just did he tell you anything about Kansas City before you also came in?
Yeah, no, he said the same thing about the club and the history behind it. He was here for a while. He was also a very good player for Kansas, hence he's got his name up on the board in there. I've known Davey for a long time now, since I was 5 years old, and having him in Austin for the last 5 years has, helped me a lot grow as a player and as a human being. He says that this is a really good place for me to grow and to continue my success.
Owen, thank you very much for the time
Awesome.
today. We'll do a quick photo op with you and Andre. We'll
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. Awesome, guys. Thank you. Yeah, good seeing everybody.
I think we should not block the camera. Should I not block the camera?
Thank you, guys. Yep.
Thank you very much, Owen.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys.
Okay. At this time, we are joined by Sporting Kansas City designated player André Luiz. He is a native Portuguese speaker. We do have an interpreter here, Abner, with 3 Point Media. Our first question will go to Daniel Sperry from the Kansas City Star.
Welcome to Kansas City. Just what convinced you about the project here, and why did you want to come here?
Boa tarde a todos. Boa pergunta. O que me convenceu é que eu vi que eu precisava ir para um lugar que precisava mais do André. E eu vi que o Kansas mostrou muito interesse do André, então por isso eu estou aqui para ajudar o Kansas.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, great question. And I came here for the fact that I wanted to be part of the club that actually needed me, that needed André. And I felt very welcomed here. People were very receptive, and I feel very loved here. So being here is not only what I needed, but I see that Kansas City needed as well.
For you, what do you hope to bring to the fans and to kind of show in your abilities, and how, what do you do on the field that will help the team?
O que pode esperar do André é um contra um, drible, chute, gols, assistência. Então, eu vim para poder ajudar o Kansas do que eles precisavam para encontrar o caminho de vitória.
They can expect a lot of 1v1s, speed, dribbling, goals, very aggressive player on the wing. So I came here with high expectations and hope to help the club as much as it needs me.
You seem to have been, in your career, bold to make decisions to go. At a young age, you left Brazil to go to Portugal, to Greece, and Greece to the U.S. What is it about the challenge, I think, of taking a path like that throughout your career that excites you? Is that something that you think tells people about you and your ambitions to kind of see what all is out there, and maybe more so than what a lot of people might think of as like the main way players go in their path in their career?
Sim, eu tive o primeiro desafio em Portugal, quando eu fui com a minha esposa, que a gente não sabia como ia ser, mas arriscamos. Felizmente a vida é assim, a gente tem que arriscar para ter sucesso, e foi dali que a gente caminhou junto para a Grécia. Não correu como a gente queria, e hoje a gente está aqui nos Estados Unidos e vai correr tudo bem, eu creio.
Yeah, I believe there's an aspect of life that if it's not challenging, it's not worth it. And I remember when I went to Portugal with my wife, we had no idea what to expect. And when we figured out our way there, we then ended up in Greece. And it didn't actually go as we planned, but now we're just grateful to be in the US and hope to adapt as much as we can and do our best here.
Yes, you speak about the challenge. Just what excites you about this level at the U.S. and what did you know about the MLS before the coming here?
Já joguei competições difíceis. A MLS é uma competição difícil, bastante competitiva. Creio eu que tem tudo para correr bem, fazer gols, assistência, concentrar bem para ajudar o Kansas.
Yeah, I've been part of very competitive leagues, and MLS is no different than any of them. And I'm just excited to be part of it, learn from the players, and help the team get wins.
And recent players that have come here have said that they see where Sporting is in the standings, and that drove them further to want to come and build and turn this club around. Was that the same with you?
Também me motivou, porque isso é um desafio. Foi o que eu falei na outra resposta, que era um time que precisava do André. E eu estou aqui para ajudar o Kansas, para a gente conseguir voltar ao caminho de vitória, subir na tabela e tentar ir ao playoff, que temos chance, ainda não me engano, tem umas 12 ou 13 jogos para poder alcançar.
Yeah, I certainly did. As I mentioned previously, one of the main reasons why I came here because I felt that Sporting KC needed me, needed André, and this is my goal: to build a good team, to win as many games as we can, and hopefully make to the playoffs.
First, welcome to Kansas City. You had a really successful last half season at Rio Ave before coming to Greece, and then didn't get to play as much in Greece. Can you kind of talk about what happened in that amount of time, and how things will be different, hopefully, here in KC?
O que eu espero é ajudar o Kansas. Quando eu joguei em Portugal foi uma competição difícil. Demorei um tempo para me adaptar, mas na minha segunda temporada em Portugal eu já fiz mais gols, mais assistência, mais confiante. Então, creio que em Portugal foi um pouco mais difícil, que não tive mais tempo. Na Grécia, desculpa, não consegui jogar muito tempo. Foi um pouco difícil para mim adaptar. Só que aqui é um pouco mais diferente, né? Porque eu estou num time que precisa mais do André, que eu estou mais confiante, mais feliz. Estou muito feliz de estar aqui para poder jogar e ajudar o Kansas.
Yeah, in Portugal, my first season was quite challenging because I was getting acclimated with the language, with the team, with the league itself, and then I was able to develop my game. In the second season, I felt way more comfortable, and I felt good scoring goals, playing good games, giving assists, and I was very excited and hopeful to go to Greece. Unfortunately, things did not go well there. I didn't have as many minutes as I expected to have. And now being here, as I mentioned previously, knowing that it's a team who needs me, I'm very excited to help the team win.
When you were looking at this as an option, what kind of sold you outside of maybe the project? I mean, obviously the city, this isn't one of the most popular cities in the U.S. Why? What was there something that really sold you on this being the place that you wanted to come to?
E, ser bem sincero, sempre quis vir aos Estados Unidos. Falava muito com a minha esposa, com meu agente. E foi uma decisão, primeiro foi da minha esposa, que eu perguntei para ela, amor, a gente tem isso aqui dos Estados Unidos. E ela falou, vamos, vai ser bom, que minha esposa agora está grávida, que seria bom para mim, para ela, para o nosso filho. Então foi um desafio para mim, vir para um país que a gente está estudando a língua, né? Que atrapalha um pouco, querendo ou não, mas isso vai ao passar do tempo, vamos estudando, que para que dar um tempo falando inglês fluente, e é um grande desafio para a gente.
To be honest with you, I've always wanted to come to the U.S. And when I talked to my agent, to my wife about the possibility, she was very excited to be here. And I told her, hey, love, we have this opportunity to go to the U.S. What do you think about it? And we thought it was a great fit for us, especially because we're expecting a child now, and it would be a great time to be, great place to be. It is true that it's challenging at times because we still haven't mastered the language, so communicating sometimes is challenging, but we're taking steps towards that. We're taking classes, and hopefully we can get acquainted with the language and with the culture as soon as possible.
And I just want to ask, who are you off the field? Like, what do you like to do if you're not playing soccer, or is that all there is to you? Not all there is to you, but is that all that you live and breathe, kind of?
O André. Isso eu gosto de responder um pouco, porque eu dentro de campo sou uma pessoa e fora do campo eu sou totalmente outra pessoa. Eu brinco com a minha esposa, ela fala, você é muito chato, tá? Eu sou um moleque feliz, amo brincar com as pessoas, fazer novas amizades, de conhecer pessoas, de rir. Gosto de assistir jogos de futebol, ainda mais dos clubes que eu passei. Meus amigos, gosto muito de jogar videogame com os meus amigos. Então, o André, eu acho que o André do futebol é um pouquinho... O André do futebol e o André da minha outra vida com a minha família, com meus amigos, é um pouco diferente.
Yeah, I really enjoy answering this question usually because I can surely tell that André from the pitch, completely other person, André out of the pitch. My wife usually says that I'm too annoying off the field, so I'm always poking jokes at people, making fun of people in a good way, and I love making friendships and just getting to know people. So to summarize it all, André off the pitch, quite different from André on pitch.
One more question in the back.
Hola André, para Telemundo en español.
Sí.
Antes de llegar a la pregunta central, ¿escuchaste hablar de Nery Castillo?
Para mí es un poquito difícil, mas compreendo tudo que habla.
Have you heard about Nery Castillo, a Mexican player which played in Olympiacos?
Castillo, no.
Okay. He was a legend over there, but few years ago. So, okay, en español.
Sí.
Brevemente, ¿qué puedes decirle a la gente de Kansas City, que es la audiencia en español, acerca de cómo te sientes a llegar aquí?
Me sinto muito feliz. Eu creio que é um passo importante na minha vida de estar jogando o MLS, de estar aqui nos Estados Unidos. Todos nós sabemos que tem uns momentos difíceis no futebol, tem uns momentos bons. Creio eu que estou num momento bom de mostrar, jogar futebol, ser feliz jogando futebol. Então, acho que esse é o momento mais feliz da minha carreira, ainda mais que eu estou esperando pelo meu filho. Então, é um momento mais feliz para mim.
Me siento muy feliz de estar aquí en Kansas City, la verdad es una felicidad.
English.
Oh, sorry. I'm really happy to be here in Kansas City. Obviously, just playing soccer, coming to a new city, coming to a new country, and also the fact that I'm expecting my first kid is awesome. So I am very happy to get to know the fans, very happy to get to know the city, and really happy for my family.
Andre, thank you very much for the time, and thank you to 3 Point Media for their help with the translations today.
Yes.
That concludes today's press conference with Sporting Kansas City. Thanks to all the media for joining. Thanks to the viewers for tuning in online.
Your English is better than you said. That's my English, not good. But two more.